Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show tonight. I just want to make the statement that this is for entertainment purposes only. If you do have any questions, please put it in the chat and do general personal readings. But I do want to start off tonight's readings with a remote view that I had started last night, and then I want to get more information on it. So I'm going to draw some more cards after I kind of explain what the remote viewing last night was. And it was regarding Lindsey Graham and the situations as far as him making public statements and being seen with 45 and supposedly an heiress to the Rothschilds for family, as far as on a golf course near Mar-a-Lago recently, and indicating some things that are going on with him. So what I want to do is just start off with that. I'll read some information, kind of let you know what information I was gathering from that remote view, and then pull some more cards to add to it. And then I've got some other questions that I have, unless any of you have any questions that you want to post to the side there in the chat. I would be more than welcome to, more than happy to look at those for you and give some readings for you. All right, so what I want to do first is, let me see. So when I first initially went into the remote viewing on Lindsey Graham was a cold, dark feeling, more or less feeling like the walls are closing in on him. Hi, Susie. And with the feeling of the darkness surrounding him, it was, the information was just more visual. He did say a few things, but it was more or less because things were happening. And as I go along with the information, you'll kind of understand what I'm talking about, that it was more visual for me than anything that he was saying, and picking up on the senses of what he was experiencing. Now, first of all, it was that he was surrounded with the darkness, but it was also like a dark pit, a hole in front of him. And he was leaning over the hole, the pit, and it was circular in shape. And what it was is that he was covering his eyes. He didn't want to see anything. And what I did first here was see no evil. Okay. And then he kept repeating that to himself. And then as he's leaning over further into that hole, I could feel that his feet were planted on the ground, but he was more or less in a stance that you would see like the ski jumpers when they've got their skis and they're tilted all the way forward. His feet were planted on the ground, but he was leaning forward. Okay. So as far as with that, it was that his body was straightening and stiffening to even bend over more to look into that hole, that darkness. Okay. So as far as with that, he then had a fear come over him. Okay. So as far as with his eyes uncovered now, and still bending over into that dark hole, into the abyss, is basically what came to mind. I hear him yelling, I didn't want to do it. Okay. So he said, I had no choice. They made me do it. And word bubbles started coming out of his mouth. So then that's all I could basically understand him at that point saying. So the more he tried saying anything, the more just the word bubbles would come out with nothing being said. Okay, so they started streaming out of his mouth faster and faster. And then as they were coming out, no longer talking, then streamers with words on them with sentences on them started flowing out of the large black hole. Okay, so here you've got him with the word bubbles, but then sentences were streaming out of the black hole. And the streamers were speeding up. Okay, so then the streamers, as they were coming out, they started falling on the ground around him and beside him. Okay, and then when they would fill up around him and beside him, they started to covering on the top. So basically, it was the imagery that he was being buried with all this information. Okay, this information was coming at him. Okay, so after that, then the one last single word bubble came out before it was totally covered over, and the word saying "black book" came out. And what came to mind was the information that Ghislaine, as far as with that black book, was coming to mind. So information that Lindsey himself knows. And then as far as with the boxes were coming to mind. So it's like with him being down around Mar-a-Lago, he was aware of the information and coming to see some of the information, but it's also because there was information in there about him. Okay, so with that, as far as the information then being buried on top of him, that black book floats up and then falls on top of him, as far as being buried with all those words and sentences. Okay, so it's basically indicating that Lindsey's being buried with the book, and it's titled Secrets. Okay, so I hear then the secrets are so heavy, so they're burdensome and they're being buried with him, or they're burying him, is what it was coming out to be. Then this woman that's claiming to be one of the Rothschild's heiresses, she obviously is not. There's been indication that they found IDs in several different locations that she has, I think from Canada, Russia, Ukraine, United States, and with having access down in Mar-a-Lago, especially with the connections at the time, becoming so friendly with everyone down there, and especially 45 and his family. It's, something as far as that's very noted, that as far as the timing of everything that's coming up and things that are being looked at to really fortify some of the things that were available for the information to be transported out of country. Okay. And with Lindsey, as far as with his statements, he's basically inciting rioting and so forth. And right now, as far as a country, that's something that we're trying to bring people together so that it doesn't happen in this situation. So there's a reason why Lindsey would be saying that, is because there's information that is about him that he's now having to basically be one to step forward and defend 45 for the information that he has on him. Okay, so what I did is I also last night then to gain more information, bringing those three together, but again the focus was on Lindsey, was that I had drawn 3 cards to indicate what actually is going on with him. And it's to know the secrets. is what was coming out. But the first card that I had drawn was Judgment in Reverse. Now with that one, it was self-doubt, indecision, refusal to see and do self-examination, refusal to face reality, inability to resolve problems. Okay, so that was indicating that that is the way that he is Lindsey himself is trying to think that this is a way to solve his problem, but all it's doing is making it more difficult for him in the long run. Because then the second card that I had drawn was the Moon card. Now with that one is the illusions that are going on, raising everyone's fears, and that's exactly what he's doing with the statements that he's making. As far as the anxiety coming up, obviously there's some information that he doesn't want to coming out, and the deception and the hidden motives, subconscious feelings and the sensitivities around the situations. The Sun card then is the second card that was coming out, and it was a clarity and understanding that will follow all of this information. So with all that information coming out of that black hole, and the information then that was coming out in the word bubbles from him, is the information, the clarity, and the understanding for us as to what's really going on. So all that will come out. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is draw 3 more cards then too, because that was done before his statements that he's trying to make statements with the public then again here. And so what is Lindsey Graham doing making the statements that he is in for public right now? Okay, the first card we have is the Eight of Pentacles, and that's doing some groundwork. He's trying to practice to make things perfect. Okay, so what he's trying to do is come up with information, doing some spins, buying time, but in actuality too, what he's doing is helping to incite more riots. So that's the first card. Second card then is the Eight of Swords, and that one's being open to new information and release and freedom coming up, knowing the way forward. So that's going to be having to be something in the present that he needs to understand. But if he's feeling that there's no way out, that's why he's been doing the things that he's been doing, going back and forth. But right now, there's information that obviously is being held over his head. Okay. The third card then that I have is the Lovers, and that is the commitment or not. Is it going to be a commitment, or is he going to kind of flip-flop more so with what's really going on? Okay. Are things really going to be advantageous for him to side with 45? Or is he going to actually come forth with information to come clean, get things resolved, and move things forward? Okay. So right now, that's what it looks like as far as what Lindsey's going through right now, and the situation that is involved in the public eye right now with him. So we shall see as far as with that coming out and moving forward with that information. Okay, so what I have is all right. So I've got a question here pertaining to Mark Cuban's discount drug company. The formation of that is huge and is going to be changing the pharmaceutical industry. Will the discount pharmacy be something that is going to have more companies be developed that is similar to that? Okay. So more companies like Mark Cuban's Cost Drug Company. Are there going to be more companies developing like that? Okay. Excuse me. All right, so I've got 3 cards I'm going to draw here for that. Yeah, let's get a clarifying card. Ooh, okay. So the first card that I have is the Empress in reverse. So that one's creative blocks, some information and materials that are being found. As far as with moving the situation forward with companies that are wanting to do that. So it looks like there possibility of people thinking of that, moving things forward, especially with that, the new law, the bills passed for the drug acts, the medications and so forth cap. Let me see. We've got Page of Wands then in reverse for the second card, and that's permissions. But right now there's a lack of direction within the types of companies that are wanting to form similar companies to Mark Cuban's. And the third card that we have then is the Empress, or excuse me, the Emperor. And that's the structure and strong foundations and stability. A little bit of the aspects of what has been traditional is forming, and so there's changes going on. So needing to forge new ways of doing business. Okay, so the clarifying card that I do have is survival, and it's the healer guides. So with that, I would say as far as new companies, the spotlight being shown, expansion, making it more fluid, reaching hands, as far as helping hands. But there's sharks in the water. So in other words, too, as far as with the way that the business is being done within the pharmaceutical industry right now, there might be a little bit of the pushback, kind of circling the area and the territorial kind of things right now. So, but with the way that the Emperor came out also too is new ways of forging forward. Okay. So I do see that there would be, okay, new companies coming forward that will be developing like Mark Cuban's discount drug companies. Oops, put that one backwards. All right. The next question that I have is, the former governor of Puerto Rico was accused of bribery recently. Also, do you see that do you see Puerto Rico becoming a state in the future of the United States? Okay, well, Puerto Rico. Become a state of the United States, because right now it is a territory, by the way. So that's one reason why they're asking. But it's as far as with the full gamut of things that they would be available to have extended to them, that would be available as far as not only social programs and things of that nature, but their voting rights also. Okay, so will Puerto Rico become a U.S. state? Okay. All right. So I've got the first card is Five of Cups in reverse. And that's old griefs, moving on, acceptance and forgiveness that's coming up. So they've really gone through the ringer, especially with the hurricanes and the devastations that they've experienced in the past. And we could see, all the things that they've had to endure without any utilities for quite some time, really. And moving forward with the acceptance. So it seems that they're wanting to, not all of them, but as far as an aspect, there's some of the old traditionalists that are still thinking that they want to stay how they are. But then the second card that I have is the Page of Wands, and that's taking the discovery of with enthusiasm that's coming up. Coming up with creative ideas and being a risk taker. And really with the news and the information then that you draw upon that, as far as they need to weigh the pros and cons of what would be the advantageous things that would come up to help them become a state of the United States instead of just a territory. The Two of Pentacles is the third card. So that's juggling of finances and demands. So the balancing of resources, the ups and downs of it, and the adaptability. So the adaptability is really standing out for me on this one more so than any of the others. So it's more or less too of moving forward with the way that a future, would need to build alliances and so forth with that. So they really do need to take in consideration what that would really mean to them to become a state. Okay. The clarifying card that I do have then is Epiphany. And so it's the higher self, the connections that they would need to come up and make for themselves. Again, it's all coming down to the advantages that they would be experiencing as becoming a state. Okay. So those are the cards for that one. So I would say as far as in the long run that yes, they would, but it's going to take some still convincing. Maybe it could be another, and I hate to say it, a disaster, a natural disaster, to maybe have them think about the restructuring that always, would have to come up to be reconsidered. Okay. But moving forward, it doesn't give me a time frame as far as with that, because with that one it's kind of hard to give even a guesstimation on that one. But yeah, so it would be yes, but not anytime soon, as far as not within the next year or two, obviously. So they would have to restructure a lot and come to that conclusion. Okay. All right. So all right, so I've got one more question here, and then I think I'll just go ahead and call it a night. I was going to go ahead and add some information. I believe I mentioned it on last week's show pertaining to near-death experiences and some of the things that I've experienced as far as spiritually. But I think I'm going to save that for another show. Because it does need a little bit more in-depth information as far as with the experiences and how they unfolded for me. And I just thought that as far as with the information I was drawn to do the remote viewing on Lindsey Graham tonight was more information that I could draw upon this evening to expand on it and get that up in a video anyway. Thank you for your patience on that information. Okay, so my last question here is, will Jared Kushner be indicted for stealing from the information from the U.S. and, I see, from Saudi Arabia, with the Saudi Arabia deal? Okay. Okay, so will Jared Kushner be indicted? That's just more or less probably just that one strict one, but I have a feeling there's going to be a lot more things that we're going to be finding out, as far as time goes on, that it's not just that particular situation that he was entwined with. Okay, so will Jared Kushner be indicted? Again, these are for entertainment purposes only. Okay. Let's see. Intimidation. So we've got King of Pentacles is the first card that I have, and that's control and power that's coming up. Money Talks is also on there. Finance and business. So yeah, they were business transactions that were going on with that information that he was handing over to the Saudis. Nine of Cups is also the second card then, and it was satisfaction, abundance, and it's a luxury, and he's proud of it. There's no wavering with him on that one. He's very proud of it for making that deal, and he has no remorse for it either. The third card then is Ace of Swords. Now with that one, that is in reverse. So there's the misuse of power that's coming up, and a lot right now, as far as for us as the community, not knowing really the details of going on, is the failed communications with us right now. And of course, there's some of the information that we may never know because of the sensitivity to it. Okay. There's going to be a little bit more of the confusion surrounding the situation, but things will be coming out, and I think we'll also too be more surprised with not only this situation with the Saudis that he made money off of, but other things that are coming to the forefront too, regarding how he was given top level security in the government from the White House, and then also too because 45 demanded it. And what I'm getting to is the clarifying cards is the temptation and choose wisely. So there was all that temptation there that he wanted to temper down that temptation. So it was too tempting for him not to do it. And he saw the advantageous situation to make money and how he could do it. So it was basically choosing wisely. Where could he get the most from a deal like that? Okay, so that's another reason too why he was choosing to do that one with one of the bit larger deals that he did come out on top with there. So we do have within that choose wisely, it looks like there's an individual on a dock, and looking into the water around him, there's different directions with these hands in different positions that they are going, and two fairly large birds heading to the sun. And as far as with what direction was it that he was really going to go, so there's more indicated here as far as the directions that he could have gone with that information. Okay, so it's not, again, just that one specific deal that he made with the Saudis for the $2 billion, but others that he made, and the temptations were just too great, with the access of that information for him not to make money off of it. Okay, So the answer to that question is yes, he will be indicted in one way, shape, or form. But as far as with more information coming out, we'll be surprised with how things were handled. Let's just put it that way. Okay, so that's the questions that I have tonight and the remote viewing that I did, that I had prepared. So I do want to thank you for joining me. And please hit that like and subscribe button for me. It does help my channel grow. And hopefully I can get some more of these videos out from the remote views. And I'll probably do those more so pre-taped so that you don't have to sit through some of the information of my page flipping and diagrams that I draw when I do those. So anyway, so have a wonderful day and evening, and I hope to see you back here soon. Bye-bye. Take care.